It's time for Country Life on Midlands 103, your weekly update on what's happening in agriculture and rural life in the Midlands. Tonight on the show, it's Claire O'Brien in the hot seat for MJ for this week again. We'll be taking stock of the weather and the impact of many weeks of hot, dry days that have parched the land and already sent many farmers into their winter forage supplies. We'll chat to Shay Phelan, who is Teagasc's expert on crops, about what we can learn from Harvest 2026 that will make us more resilient in 2027. Philip Ryan joins me to chat about the Black Bull Thrashing Festival, and we will start the show this evening on the subject of wool. Now, in recent years, the price of wool has been hovering around or less than the price of getting sheep shorn, and this is despite having a great history in this country of wool making, fabrics, carpet making. Things are changing internationally, with a recent report in The Guardian showing how New Zealand sheep farmers are experiencing an uptick in prices as consumers are turning away from cheap and particularly oil-based synthetics in favour of natural wool. And this is having an improvement on prices. Now, locally in Birr, Kevin Dooley is a wool agent and he's an exporter with his wife Noreen, and he has been diversifying into using wool to create natural products, from pillows to wool throws. Kevin, you're very welcome to Country Life. We might start with an update on wool prices this year.
Well, I suppose compared to last year, the price is up significantly. I think around this time last year, the average price to the farmer was around 25 cent to 30 cent per kg. And I suppose from the spring onwards, there has been a significant increase. So prices have probably settled there around 90 cent a kilo at the moment here in the Midlands. So it's up a lot on last season.
It is, and we're coming from a base where it cost more to shear the animal than you got for the wool in recent years. What's responsible for the change?
So I suppose if you go back to COVID, there was no movement because all the wool was probably going into the carpet trade, and those carpets were going on to hotels and cruise ships and casinos. So they all closed down, probably over they weren't at full capacity maybe for 2 years. But then they didn't need carpets, or they didn't get an overhaul. So the wool kept on growing, obviously, and every year the sheep had to be shorn. So there was a stockpile there for 2 or 3 years. But what we saw then was a lot of wool, because of the prices, was dumped across Europe and in Ireland and around the world. There's been a drop in the number of sheep as well across around the world. So what happened then, there was a slight demand came last year with all the cruise ship industry and the hotels, and that probably the supply wasn't there to meet that demand because the stockpile had been got through. So now we're probably in a situation at the moment where the wool is not there, and the sheep numbers are back as well. So it's probably a positive but it's definitely in a better place than where it was last year anyway.
Yeah, from a wool perspective. And I suppose this summer, in spite of all the drill baby drill that we're getting from across the big pond, oil seems to have, in this particular summer, really gotten a very negative reputation, and the impact of fossil fuels and the experience people are having with this very, very hot summer. I imagine that is going to make an impact as well moving into the coming years.
Well, you definitely hope so. I think if we go back to maybe 40 to 50 years ago, where Irish households, that's all that lay on their beds was bed blankets made from wool from the Foxford woolen mills. Then those fibres that were on those bed blankets were replaced by a synthetic, which is oil based, and they could manufacture they could replicate the fibre softer and quicker and cheaper. And then all of a sudden, the synthetic industry just took over from wool. Wool was then, it was a little bit more expensive maybe to produce wool at the time, so we were replaced. Wool was replaced by synthetic. But you would hope going forward that the era that we're in now, from a bioeconomy and all that wool would definitely be there on the agenda as a replacement for those synthetic fibres. We find with the new venture we have at the moment with our bedding that the properties that are naturally in wool It can't be synthetically replaced or manufactured in synthetics. And also we're seeing the long-term effects on our environments with plastics and microfibers in waters and your ecosystems and our lands and stuff like that.
And we're seeing, I thought it was really interesting to read about New Zealand in particular, where I suppose it's a really interesting lesson, isn't it? They had such an enormous flock, and that flock has reduced significantly over the years. But they are really reaping the benefit of the consumer's desire and business's desire to separate itself a little bit from oil, and to work towards those natural fibres, which, as you say, have those particular superpowers.
Exactly, and in fairness to the New Zealand government, they've come in 100%. And I've read there recently where some of the public procurement, let's say for insulation and carpets, maybe that's in government buildings or in other new builds, that there's a significant grant available if the wool they're using is 100% New Zealand, and it comes directly from the New Zealand farmers, and those farmers in turn then get a premium or get a bit extra for their wool. So they're generally producing the wool within their own country, and they're using it in their own buildings. And I often look at ourselves here in Ireland. We have some very significant buildings, from government buildings to our heritage GA fields or Croke Park. I don't think there should be any reason for public procurements going forward that we couldn't include that in our government buildings or in our buildings going forward.
I suppose when you think about the importance of sustainability, and you think about the importance of keeping jobs in Ireland and divesting ourselves of plastic and of oil as things move on, it's hard to imagine that it's not a no-brainer. And you think particularly about, I suppose maybe in the last 20 years, so many people around the country have worked hard to develop insulation from wool and just haven't had that kind of support from government and from government initiatives that would allow them to be viable industries.
Exactly, and it probably comes down to a cost issue. Like the even from an insulation point of view, even from our bedding, you can buy a pillow for a $5, you can get a roll of insulation for 60. Generally, the wool products are a little bit, maybe 5 or 6 times dearer than that. We see maybe going forward, we saw it with the solar panels there over the last couple of years where they took the VAT off them, and there was a significant increase on sales. If Irish wool alone had a 0 VAT rate on it, like currently it's 23%, it's quarter of the price, but it would bring the retail costs down to the consumer, and it would make it way more attractive to the consumer that they could actually purchase. Sustainability, I suppose, shouldn't be just for a different class of people. It should be from everybody, from the bottom up, you know what I mean? So it's the same world or the same environment. So everybody should be included, and it should be accessible.
You had a call to the Minister for Agriculture and the Minister for Finance, Buzz, about something that he or they could do, that would be practical. What would you suggest?
Well, look, we've seen the uproar during the year with the Brazilian beef, importing Brazilian beef, against the Irish beef. The way I look at it, we're importing synthetic against Irish grown wool, okay? And there should be probably the same uproar over it. You know what I mean? The farmers of Ireland, and they're the main people, they're the primary producers of this product. And they're being penalised because we're importing a plastic alternative or an oil alternative against that. And when you actually boil it down, it makes no sense whatsoever. So going forward, what we'd love to see is that the VAT rate would be looked at maybe on the product, and also that the farmers are probably rewarded for the way they keep the wool or produce it. And maybe going forward in time, whether it happens in my time or not, I don't know, that maybe Irish farmers will be breeding sheep, for not alone for meat but for their wool as well. Well,
we can cross our fingers on that one, Nate. Sheep breeding and sheep rearing is not an easy job. It's hard on the knees, it's hard on the back, it's hard on the labourer, and the more opportunities to support sheep farmers that are out there, the better. Congratulations on your own business there, Kevin. I know you spoke to MJ about it. You have the most fabulous website. and they just look to be gorgeous products. So if people are getting ready, I know it's early to be talking about the big C word, but if people are thinking about gifts that they can be buying, and something special for somebody, we're not at the end of the wedding season either, to support local businesses. You've beautiful things there and on a really gorgeous website. So well done to yourself and Noreen on that. And thank you so much for taking the call this evening on Country Life. And if you want to know more about Kevin and Noreen Dooley's enterprise, they have as I say, a gorgeous website and shop front at dooleyswool.ie. It's Country Life on Midlands 103, and after the break I'll be chatting to Shay Phelan. Shay is Teagasc's crop expert based in Oak Park in County Carlow, and he'll be talking to us about Harvest 26, what we can learn that will make us maybe a bit more resilient for Harvest 2027. Join me after the break. And you're very welcome back to Country Life with me, Claire O'Brien, sitting in this week for MJ. I chatted recently to Shay Phelan, who is in charge of crops and potatoes at Oak Park in County Carlow. And we spoke about the harvest and the challenges really for Harvest 2026. And the core of the conversation was, how can farmers prepare now for next year, for Harvest 2027? What are the learnings? But I began by asking him, what does 2026, how is 2026 playing out?
It's been a mixed bag, to be perfectly honest. The droughts that we've had over the summer months, kind of from May all the way through to July. I mean, there's been different periods of very, very dry weather have had a significant impact on cereal crops in particular, coming into harvest. So normally speaking, we will be starting into the main harvest now. But just about an hour ago, I was talking to a grower in North Dublin, and he's finished completely all of his harvest. So everything's done. His beans, his spring wheat, winter wheat, spring barley, everything is completely done. So that's probably in reality about a month earlier than what it should be. So while that might sound great and there's great weather to harvest and stuff like that, and the harvesting costs have certainly reduced, the yields have certainly reflected that loss of a month's growth. So basically yields are going to be back substantially in some parts of the country. In other parts of the country, it's probably going to be okay. So it really reflects on where you are in the country. So if you're in the Midlands here, like where we are in Oak Park here in Carlow, on some of that lighter soils, those have been most impacted. Whereas if you're in the northeast, where on heavier type soils, they seem to be less impacted. So yields are actually not too bad up there. They're actually quite good. So it's really, really a mixed bag in terms of what way the harvest is going to turn out.
And what about the yields? What's the quality like? Say with spring barley, winter barley, what's that been like?
Yeah, so quality again, it's a difficult one to assess. The quality in a lot of cases is not bad. So those better crops tend to be fine. But say for the likes of malting barley, which is probably one of our biggest quality products that we grow, that's really, really a tough one to answer because, again, it comes down to it's very site-specific and field-specific. So quite a lot of barley has missed that, the quality parameters for malt. So we're seeing rejection rates of maybe 40-50%, and that would normally end up in malt, which obviously goes into like Guinness and things like that. So they are actually suffering badly in those quality parameters. But then again, you have other parameters whereby, say maybe for the likes of milling wheat and stuff like that, that could be certainly better because the protein levels tend to be higher in these dry weather, so or dry conditions. So for anybody that's milling or anything like that, I know there's a lot of small millers around the country. The quality of wheat they probably have for the milling will be actually quite good.
It's one of those difficult situations, isn't it? Because if you're driving down the southeast, and lots of people are at this time of the year, you see these what look to be beautiful golden fields and combines and trailers and lots of what looks like beautiful grain in the sunshine, and that isn't really reflecting the reality of where things are at for a lot of people, is it?
No, unfortunately it's not, and you're right. It is picture postcard sort of stuff at the moment that farmers are out there, they're busy at the harvest, and to be fair, they're getting great weather to get it done. And what's even better is you can pick whichever day you want to harvest the crop because you've no threat of rain. But I suppose the underlying problem there is that if they don't achieve top yields now and very high yields, a lot of them are actually harvesting these crops at a loss, or certainly at break even. So as in any business, doesn't matter whether you're farming or whatever, in any business, if you're not making a profit, you're in trouble because you can't reinvest in the business. And that's something that's really, really worrying for a lot of farmers at the moment.
And I suppose looking at things a little bit more closely, what looks in some places what you might expect to be lovely golden crops are actually, some of them are quite bleached, where the sun seems to have caused damage that maybe we might be used to in this country.
Yeah, you're 100% correct in that normally crops will die over time. So they'll not die, they'll ripen over time. So they will go through their natural processes where they start to the green colour of chlorophyll will actually go out of the straws and the grains, and they will ripen naturally. Whereas this year they have died on their feet, so that they have just given up the ghost because of the lack of moisture. So they just can't stay growing. So, like I said, that month's growth that they should have had all the way through late June into mid-July, that has disappeared. So that growth that they should have had has been taken away from them this year because of the lack of moisture. So you're right, they've just died on their feet.
Yeah. Are there decisions that people can be making now to be more prepared for next year? Because somebody who has, gone through a field 9 times with all the various different things maybe that they have to do, in terms of spray and fertilizer and what have you, and is looking at things, as you say, dying on their feet. Are there decisions that farmers can be making now about crops, about varieties, that might make them more prepared for a dry year like this again next year, if this is a reality that we're going to have?
Yeah, for sure there is. I mean, but they're not. There's no silver bullet, I suppose. But if you take in terms of the first principle of growing crops, crop rotation. So if you followed wheat by another wheat, it's going to cost you more to grow that because of disease levels and weed levels and so on and so forth. So really what you should be looking at is trying to look at other crops that may or may not give you more yield, more profitability, whatever it happens. But the other thing it actually does is staggers out the harvest, staggers out the workloads as well. So one of the crops that a lot of people would have fared relatively well with this year is oilseed rape. So that's something that I'd say that a lot of people will look at more seriously this year, although there are problems with it in terms of rotations. You can't grow it year after year after year. You get a build-up of disease. So
and prices weren't great this year either, I think. When just looking at commodities across the board, oilseed rape surprisingly is down a bit, even though the harvest has been good.
Yeah, but at the same time, it's still probably going to be the most profitable crop on tillage farms this year, because the price, although it has dropped, it is competing with oils and stuff like that. So it is actually quite profitable at the moment. Whereas cereals, for argument's sake, they have really only started to move in the last week, maybe fortnight in terms of price. So they have struggled to give anybody a margin unless you're really having top yields. But one of the things I suppose a lot of farmers are having a look at now in terms of profitability of their enterprise is the type of soils that they're on. So if you're in drought-prone soils, should you really be growing spring crops that are going to get droughts in May, June, July, like we have this year, as the weather changes or the weather patterns or climate changes over the next number of years? So what we're hearing at the moment, a lot of farmers looking at possibly growing more winter crops in those slots where they wouldn't have traditionally have done because this risk of droughts coming through in the summer, as we're being told, is going to happen more and more frequently going forward. That's something that farmers are looking at in this more serious way probably than they would have had before, that they can get crops grown and near to the end or near to harvest before the impacts of these droughts actually take hold,
And if we were to have another very, very wet winter, spring like we did this year, are people going to pay for that then?
Yeah,
if they move more towards winter crops.
That's the gamble. That's all. Like farming is a gamble, no matter what way you do it, and all you can do are make educated guesses about what's the best scenario for your situation. So there certainly were problems with winter crops coming out of the winter last year, in that waterlogging and wet soils was certainly an issue for some. But certainly you can actually work with those through the spring when you can get work done. Whereas with a drought where you don't have moisture, there's nothing you can do. Absolutely nothing you can do. You just have to sit there and wait it out. So I suppose that's where the gamble comes in.
Yeah.
Are you better off with spring crops or winter crops, depending on your soil type? Now, that said, there are people out there who've grown spring crops this year and have grown successfully and are very, very happy with them.
Yeah.
There are other farmers, certainly in the Oak Park, Carlow sort of area, where on dry soils they stop growing probably out mid-July.
Okay.
Or mid-June or early July.
And are the decisions, what kind of decisions can people be making on varieties, and what are you seeing in terms of the trials that you have there at Oak Park?
Yeah, variety choice really won't make that much of a difference in terms of drought tolerance or anything like that. Yes, for sure, they will make a difference in terms of disease profile, earliness of ripening, all those type of things that certainly make. But in terms of tolerance to drought, that won't make any. Variety won't make any real difference, to be fair.
Okay, that's interesting. So there are things that we can be doing now to be making decisions that will hopefully be more positive for us in 2027 when we're back having this conversation again next year, Shay.
Yeah, so like I said, they should be looking at crop choice, whether you go winter cereals or spring cereals, and again looking at your soil type. I mean, one of the main break crops that we use in the country at the moment, is, apart from oilseed rape, are beans.
Yeah.
So beans are suffering badly this year because they're a crop that need a lot of moisture through the summer months, and obviously they haven't got it this year. But crops like peas, which are a legume as well, similar to beans, they are better suited to drier soils that we have here, say in the likes of Carlow, Athy, South Kildare area.
Yeah.
And so they would be probably something that people should have a look at. Now, like every crop, they have their issues as well. But I suppose there are decisions that people can make in terms of looking for the different crops that they can grow, but also looking for the markets, looking for people that will actually buy the product from them. So you can't just rock up and so 100 acres of peas if there's nobody to buy them from you. So you have to actually find a market for it. So you have to talk to your local merchant and see, well, here, is there something here I can do? And rye is another one that we're starting to look at as well, in terms of, can you grow rye in certain parts of the country as well. But again, it's the market for that, isn't it? It is popular this year, but the market isn't what people might have hoped for. No, and that's it. And some merchants actively don't really want it because they know where to handle it, or they can't handle it. So there are things that you can actually do to try and mitigate the risk. And I suppose the biggest thing that people can do is avoid having too much of any one crop, because basically then everything is in the one basket. So you're putting a bigger risk on the farmer, on the business, by having all your eggs literally in the one basket. So having a diversity of crops will reduce the risk, and I suppose that's probably something that more and more people are looking at it going forward.
And my thanks there to Shay Phelan from Oak Park, from Teagasc in Carlow, who's in charge of crops and potatoes there. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, we will chat fertiliser. You're listening to Country Life on Midlands 103. And you're very welcome back to Country Life on Midlands 103. For many farms across the Midlands, it is crunch time. And despite a shower here and there, many areas are still without grass. And that, of course, as we know, is the core of Irish agriculture. You have seen in the last week the IFA President's whistle-stop tour of burnt-up fields across the Midlands, across the country indeed, and the Journal reporting and suggesting the necessity to make a forage budget. But of course, budgets are not just about the outgoings, they're about the incoming as well. And many people are wondering, where are they going to get the forage that they will need to keep them going? I'm joined on the line now by Angus Jiggins of Livestock Nutrition Solutions in Louth. They have many clients in the Midlands. Just looking at what the situation is with the availability in general of feed across the country at the moment, are we in a crisis situation just yet?
That has really hit home in the last 2 to 3 weeks, that we definitely are in quite a major crisis. While some parts of the country have received some rain in that space of time, it has greened up certain farms, but still very limited in the availability of grass, not to mention the most severely impacted regions. Quite a lot of farms that I'm dealing with are now in full winter feeding mode, in that they're feeding full diets that they would be feeding while the animals are housed. So quite a lot of fodder is being currently fed, and obviously the resulting second and third cuts of silage are non-consequential in terms of regrowth. So the issue is quite severe at the moment, and definitely in the short to medium term doesn't show any sign in improving.
And in the long term, for those who will be able to afford it, will there be fodder available if we're moving into January, February and March, based on what's happening in the country as a whole?
Yeah, in the country as a whole, there definitely does seem to be fodder. Parts of the northwest appear to have had quite a textbook year in terms of grass growth and growing conditions. They've had quite a wet early part of the summer, but since that, with the good weather interspersed with some regular rain, they've had quite a good season. So there does seem to be quite a normal or excess fodder produced in those regions, but obviously huge parts of the country have been the complete opposite and are in and will be in huge fodder deficits.
Yeah. So I suppose people are making the decision now, will they eat into what they have and hope that they will be able to get fodder at reasonable prices later on in the year, or will they balance things out in other ways with other combinations of feed for animals? At the moment we're hearing about lots of things that are coming into the mix. What are you seeing there? What kinds of decisions are farmers making, and what's available to people who don't want to use all of the winter silage here before September gets to an end?
Yeah, I suppose the decisions being made on farms will vary greatly depending on the type of system and the type of forage that's available to farms. And definitely we see that forage on every farm now is being eaten into. Winter forage stocks have been eaten into. There are a mixture of decisions being made, obviously, where the animals need feeding, and that forces the hand of the farmer that they'll have to introduce that winter fodder. A combination of silage, straw, and concentrates is what's been used in most scenarios.
Yeah, I'm hearing as well about a lot of farmers using soy husks, using palm husks, which are problematic in themselves, particularly the soy husks. But are there local alternatives to that don't require to be imported, that don't require the destruction of the Amazon rainforest, for people to keep their animals alive and thriving?
Yeah, I suppose there are. Thankfully, we've had quite a successful harvest with regards to the weather. Has played a favourable part in all the grain. Nearly grain harvest being finished up in record early time. While yields have again suffered from the lack of rain towards the latter part of the growing season. That those grains have been harvested in good condition and offer very good solutions to supplementing cattle and cows that are short of grass. We do see solutions such as rolled barley, rolled oats, straw obviously being used to supplement the animals that are suffering from a lack of grass, while also helping to extend existing fodder supplies.
It's probably going to be a record year for straw. Price wise, what kind of expense is this going to put? And I know there's no such thing really as the average farmer, but we rely on grassland in this country, and we haven't really had a situation probably since 2018, going back then to 2005, 2006, where we have had such dry weather and such an impact on grass growth. Overall, the cost for farmers, what is this going to come into, are you seeing?
Yeah, well, the huge costs being footed right at the moment, and then going into the winter, what additional cost is going to have to be paid for sourcing this additional fodder that's being fed at the moment. I suppose varying on farm to farm, but for dairy cows again being fed close to a winter ration of silage and concentrates, that's adding a cost of €4 to €5 in per head per day
Yeah.
in most scenarios. So that isn't long racking up. Obviously, we've seen the drought of 2018 had somewhat started to rectify itself during the month of August, in that we'd received some rain, grass growth had resumed, and we got quite a good back end, a good growing back end, and quite a lot of fodder was saved in that back end. We haven't seen that rain coming in sufficient quantities yet to kickstart the growing, and it's getting to be quite a worrying point now at this stage.
And I suppose, income, where people are at on their income level in a general sense, is going to have a huge impact on the decisions that they make. The average dairy income last year, around 130,000 per farm. So there's potentially, I know there's a lot of places carrying quite a bit of debt as well, but there's potentially, in terms of the dairy industry, a capacity to buy feed, and perhaps maybe in other on sheep and beef farms where incomes are lower. Are we going to find a situation where farmers will be forced to destock slightly? We're already seeing that there's an increase in cattle sales in some marts around the country.
Yeah, I suppose definitely the advice would be for farmers to look closely at their system, look closely at their existing livestock, not to be carrying any passengers in the system. I suppose any empty breeding animals, any potential younger animals that would be kept until the autumn for sale, may have to go for sale earlier. Also on a lot of beef farms, we see that animals that are normally finished off grass have now been housed earlier, just again to reduce the pressure burden on grass and leave any existing or low grass supply to younger grazing animals. So I suppose to look closely at your system and try to remove passengers from it.
And finally, I suppose, I know you don't have a crystal ball. It'd be a very lucky and wealthy man who would have a crystal ball at this time of the year in this country. Are you hopeful that farmers in general will be able to weather this? Not to put a pun on it.
Hopefully, we're all doing the rain dance again on the farms that have received some rainfall in the Midlands and further into the northeastern part of the country where I'm based. As I said, farms have greened up, so a little bit more rain will obviously drive that grass growth on. But then moving down into the real problematic areas in the southeast, we do see that it's going to take quite a bit of time to respond, and obviously we'd hope that there will be some helps and supports coming in the short term to maybe help with the transport of fodder from regions that have fodder into the more impacted regions. We also would see a lot of the need for farmers again to look at the animals to ensure that they're meeting their intake requirements, and again we see the most overlooked nutrient in a lot of cases is actually water. So it's vitally important that there's water supply to animals, be it at pasture or in sheds, is checked upon.
And that is Angus Jiggins, who is a nutritionist at Livestock Nutrition Solutions in County Louth. And if you want to contact them, lns.ie is the website there. We're going to take a quick break here on Country Life on Midlands 103, and when we come back, it's to find out about the Black Bull Thrashing Festival, which takes place on the 23rd of August. Stay with us here. You're listening to Country Life on Midlands 103. And you're welcome back to Country Life. Show season is up and running across the Midlands. The Ossory show was a huge success. Tullamore show worked its usual magic. And this weekend, you're spoiled for choice with Moat Agri show on Sunday. And for something a little bit more retro, the Black Bull Thrashing Festival is also on this weekend. And Philip Ryan is the chairman. Philip, you might start by telling me a little bit about the site itself at Sharavogue.
The site at Sharavogue, we've been in existence there for the last 24 years, believe it or not. It started off as a very small little thrashing festival, and over the years it has developed into something a lot bigger than just a thrashing festival. And the site, we are very grateful to the two landowners, the Malone family, and the Hayden family, for their generosity in allowing us use their land every year for the last 24 years for our event. Without them, obviously, we wouldn't be able to do it.
Take us back, first of all, to the idea of thrashing, because this year has been a great year. If you've been out and about on the roads, there's lots of nice new combines. I saw somebody in Offaly the other day when I was coming between Borough and Mountmellick. I saw a fabulous Massey combine in a field. So John Deere ones all over Wexford over the last couple of weeks. What's the attraction in going back and looking at the older way of having a harvest?
I suppose the main thing is really not so as those old traditions are not forgotten. And as you know, the thrashing, it's cut with a binder. We've our corn cut now for the last 3 weeks. We're lucky that Philip Draper donated the corn to us, and it was cut with a binder belonging to O'Mara's. And that corn was cut and stacked and put on the trailer, and it's there waiting to come down to the Black Bull on the 23rd for the event. But I mean, those old ways of working, if you don't have events like this, they'll be forgotten. I know my own or a lot of young people around the area may not only for the Black Bull Thrashing Festival, may not have seen any of these old machines working, and they're a lot more obviously labour intensive, but that's the way things evolved over the years. And so I think it's very important that those old traditions are kept, and I'm confident that the likes of the Black Bull and other thrashing festivals, they keep all these events alive in people's memory. It's a lot of the old traditions, they're kind of dying out a bit, I suppose. And even the likes of the butter making or griddle bed and stuff like that, people probably don't even know what they are or never seen it being done. You may have heard people talking about it years ago, but you wouldn't have seen it being done. So
we have griddle bread in our house every couple of weeks. It's good stuff on a Sunday morning. But anything that's left in the fridge, if there's a few olives, there's a bit of cheese or anything like that, it all goes into the griddle bread, and it's fantastic. But people didn't own their own combine like many people do now. You were really relying on somebody in the area who had a thrasher who would come and thrash for a lot of people. There's that sense of the metal and people working together.
I don't remember them. Thank God. I'm probably too young, but I do hear people talking about the thrasher coming to the farm, and it was a huge event. And as you said, it's brought the whole idea of metal where people came together, and different neighbours and farms came together, and then they moved on to the next farm. So that's kind of the same down at the thrashing, that we have an entire community to help down there. As I say, we have over 180 people working down there on the day. And as I said, the event has gone from just a mere thrashing festival, then it's gone to a music festival, and also it's a massive day for children. As I know you heard our promotional song, our song Right Billy Right, it says that it's only a €5 to get in. So it is only a fiver to get in, and children are free. So
which is as cheap a day out as you're going to get, really.
It's a very cheap day out, but when you walk in the gate, your kids are there for the day, and there's plenty of items and things for them to do all day. And there's a dog show there. There's a tea tent. There's burger tents. There's pancakes, and there's Cathal Cannon, which again Cathal Cannon was an old traditional food years ago as well. There's shops there. There's ice cream. There's coffee docks. There's art displays. There's Lucky Dips. There's a children's play area. And this year, the beneficiaries of the local trashing festival is the a proposed playground in Coolderry. So there's a huge emphasis this year on young kids at the trashing, and I know that the playground committee have a lot of little events set up for children, so they will have a brilliant day there. And of course, our big thing this year is we have persuaded Marty Morrissey to come and open our event. So anyone who wants to come and have a chat with Marty will be there on the day to open our event.
And you'll have TR Dallas there providing the music as well.
Yeah, the music on the day this year, is also with Teresa and Megan O'Hara. I don't know if you know, Megan was on Lower Tira, and she's an up-and-coming Offaly country star, so we're delighted to have Megan and her mother there. Plus, you just say with the legend that is TR Dallas as well.
I'm curious about, a 24-year heritage, and when you look at the profile of those 150, 180 people who are helping out, how many of those are young people who would have grown up with the festival and gained an interest in the thrashing and an interest in machinery as a result of that? Or is the profile of those who are helping out much older, those people who have a sense of the heritage and really want to hold on to it?
Yeah, no, it's actually both. There's the local GA club look after all the parking, and they're all young people. And I know my own all my own family are involved, and I know a lot of other families as well that they've started. In particular, mentioned say like Jim O'Mara. Jim is one of he's a man that's there for a long time, and not at all. Jim has children and grandchildren all involved in it. So there's families like that are involved from years, and it follows down from one generation to another. And I suppose that's what we try to do every year. We try to get young people involved so that they can follow on the tradition and keep it going, because it is a huge benefit to whoever gets it every year, whoever gets the benefit of the money every year,
Of course,
because
yeah.
it does, I suppose, at the end of the day, it does make a few pounds for someone, and it's like the playground committee. Hopefully they'll get money that will enable them maybe to get further grants. So that's, I suppose that's the essence of it every year.
Absolutely.
But we do very important to say that the traditions of the trashing are utmost important on the day, in the event.
And do you see that this event will still be going in another 24 years' time?
Yeah, well, and I know, talking to, say, Ray Dempsey and, say, Seamus Kennedy, who were chairpersons before me, I know every year that they kind of finished it, that they may have thought, look, it'll last another year, but I don't think when it all started back, say, 24 years ago, anyone thought it would last 24 years. So I'm looking forward, say, for the next couple of years. I can't see that, say, for the next 5 or 6 years at the moment that it'll definitely keep going,
Fantastic.
But we get so much good support from the young people in the area that I can't see any reason why it won't. It's very important, because, as you said, the old trashing mills and the binders, they're things of the past, but they're very important, as you say, because the amount of work, the manual labour that goes into those to keep them going in comparison to all the new machines.
For sure. Yeah, for sure. Philip, I hope you all have a wonderful weekend. I hope it turns out on Sunday to be a huge event with great weather and a great crowd of people, and lots of people enjoying fresh buttery griddle bread. There is nothing better on the planet than fresh buttery griddle bread. And have a wonderful festival. And thank you so much for talking to us. And that is it from Country Life for this week. Joe Cooney has the best of Irish and American country music for you after the break and after the news at 8 o'clock. MJ will be back in this seat next week. For many of you, this is the last weekend of the summer holidays, so get as much work as you can out of those teenagers before they get back to the books. Enjoy the ag shows, whether you're in Moat or whether you're at the Black Bull Thrashing Festival this weekend. Take care of yourself. Good night.